Hi guys, welcome back to iFashi. Today's video I'll be showing you guys how to make these cargo pants. This video is very long because it contains the drafting and the sewing. So let's get started. So this is my fabric. I'll be drafting directly on the fabric because it's very long and it consumes a lot of paper, so I just drafted directly. Now it's folded into two already, and I took my measurement and made sure that it's wide enough for my tie measurement. So the first thing I'll do is remove 2 inches from the upper part and take my crotch depth. The crotch depth I'm using is 10.5 because I divided my hip by 4. My hip is 42, so 42 divided by 4, that gave me 10.5. So I went up on that crotch line by 2 inches. That is where I got my hip line. That's where I will be taking my hip measurement. So the next thing I'll do now is to take my tape from the beginning down to the full length of the pants. And while you are doing this, remember to minus 2 inches on top for your band. So I marked the full length that I want, and the next thing I will do is to come back and take my waist measurement on top. So now I'll start with the crotch line. On this crotch line, I'll be marking my hip measurement divided by 4. As I said earlier, my hip measurement divided by 4 is 10.5. So I marked it there, and I added 1 inch ease allowance, and then I added 2 inches. I'll explain these 2 inches later. Also on the hip line, I repeated the same thing. I took my hip measurement, 1 inch is allowance, and then I added the 2 inches. On this hip line, this 2 inches is not necessary. I'll clean it later. And then I went to the upper line where I will take my waist measurement. I did not take my measurement from the other end. I took the hip measurement I have before because I will connect the line. That is me connecting the line. I took my hip measurement on the waist line. We will take our waist measurement later. So now back to the crotch depth. Remember that 2 inches I added is actually 2.2, because how to get your crotch depth, you divide, for the front part, you divide your hip measurement by 20. And for the back part, you divide your hip measurement by 10. So 42 divided by 20 is what I added there, 2.1. So I'll now use my curve rule to curve from that hip line down to where I did that 2.1 on the crotch line. So now from this other edge, I'm taking my waist measurement. The waist measurement should be taken inwards from the curved part, because this curved part is the front of your trouser, down to the side. So after I took my waist measurement on the upper part, I added 1 inch is allowance, and then I slanted it down to meet the hip line. I took 8, and then I added 1, and then I slanted it to the hip line. So that's for the upper part. It's very simple. The next thing we'll do now is to connect this crotch line down to the full length of your trouser. I took what I have there and I went to take it on the full length and then do the connection with my straight ruler down on both sides. Very simple, guys. We already have a pant pattern on this page. If you do not understand, you would watch that one and you will understand better. Now those are the lines I made for the last part. I just wanted you to see it because my camera was not covering the full thing. So I'll cut it out and then fold my fabric again to cut out my back pattern. Now after folding my fabric into two for the back pattern, I'll place the front I already cut on top of it. And while placing this front on top of it, remember to leave like 3 inches space on the top of the trouser and on the side of the trouser as well, because the back crotch extension is longer than the front crotch extension. So after placing the front pattern, this is how it looks like. I will just go ahead and curve my front pattern that I did not curve. I forgot to curve. Now I came down on this curved part of your pants, not on the hip line. I came down by 0.5 inches and I slanted it down to the hip part of the trouser, and then I would trim it off. This was supposed to be done when I was cutting the front, so I remembered now and I decided to do it. So after doing this, now you will take your back measurement using the front still on top of it. So you will go up by 3 inches on this curved part of the trouser. If you see, I'm going up by 3 inches. I make a mark there, and then on the other hip part I went up by 1 inch, and then I'll use a straight rule to connect this line I just made. Now after connecting, you come down. The next thing we'll do is to come down to this crotch extension part of the pants. See, I traced it down to meet that crotch line. So now on this crotch line, we'll divide. I said this earlier, when you're taking the back, you divide your hip measurement by 10. Front is divided by 20. That was what gave me 2.1. Now we're dividing my hip measurement by 10, and the answer is what we'll add here. And while you're adding it, take it from that 1 inch ease extension that I added earlier, not from the end of the pants. That's what I did. After that, you just add 1.5 inches or 1 inch, depends on how free you want your cargo pants to be on the sides. Now on the other side, we also add 1 inch seam allowance and ease allowance. You can add 2 inches, you can add 1.5, but you don't want this trouser to be too free. You'll see the result at the end of the video. So I just added 1 inch on the other side, and then I cut out the back. That's that for the drafting. Very, very simple, guys. What will take our time is the sewing of the trouser, because it has a lot of details that you need to pay attention to. The next thing I'll be teaching now is how to make a cargo pant pocket. First, we're going to start with cutting it out. This totally depends on how wide you want yours to be. So on this, my fabric that I've folded into 2, I'll be marking out 9 inches wide. 9 inches on both sides, 9 inches wide, 9 inches in length as well. So that at the end of the day, after folding in and sewing, I want it to be the pocket to be 8 inches wide altogether. 8 inches wide, 8 inches long. That's why I'm marking out 9 inches, because I'll use 1 inch to sew on both sides, like half an inch on both sides to sew. So then I'll cut it out. This 2 piece I cut out is for one side. I'll go ahead and cut out another 2 piece for the second side. Now after cutting out this pocket, the next thing we'll go ahead and cut is the cover of the pocket. Since I cut 9 inches for the pocket, I'll go ahead and cut 10 inches for the cover, because the upper part of the cover is a bit wide, longer than the pocket itself, while the down part that will be on top of the pocket will be equal with the length of the pocket. So after marking 10 inches on top of the cover of the pocket, I'll slant it to measure up with the size of the pocket that I have. And then for the length, I need it to be 2 inches long. That's why I'm marking out 3 inches, because after folding, I will have 2 inches left. So for this cover as well, I'll go ahead and cut out 4 pieces, 2 for each side, because we'll be turning it out. So after cutting out the pocket and the cover, the next thing we'll go ahead and cut now is the side of the pocket. This cargo pocket has fabric on the edge, as we know, but it is very small. So I'll go ahead and cut out 2 inches, because at the end of the day, after attaching it, I want it to be 1 inch wide. So I cut out 2 inches. I'll cut 2 pieces of this, because this one doesn't need to be turned. So it's one will serve for the left, one will serve for the right. So all together for the both pockets, I'll cut out 4 pieces. Now this is what we have. I have 2 pieces each for each pocket, and 2 pieces each for the cover, and then I have 2 pieces for the sides as well, 2 pieces for the side of the other one as well. Now after cutting out this, the next thing we'll do now is to go ahead and go to the sewing machine and start turning them out. Before we go to the sewing machine to start turning them out, we'll cut our waistband first. So this is the fabric I'll be using to cut our waistband. It's folded into 2. So what I will do, I need the band to be 2 inches, because that is what I deducted from my waist measurement when I was taking my measurements. But first, let's cut the length. The length I'm using, you can use 40 if your waist is 32, 33. It just depends. If it remains, you can cut it off on your own. It's better it is longer than it end up being shorter. So the width is 2 inches, as I said earlier. So I will measure 3 inches, because I would use 1 inch to do the joining to the pants. So I've cut out 3 inches, and I'll keep it aside. The next thing we'll cut now is the pocket. This is the front pocket, not the cargo side pocket that we cut earlier. This is your regular pocket. We have a tutorial of how to draft a pants with pockets before on our channel already. If you do not understand this one, this is just a regular front pocket. The only difference is we will be adding the fabric that we used for our cargo pocket to join to this one. But first, before we do the joining, let's take the normal measurements for pockets. The length of my pocket is 12 inches because I don't want it to be too longer than the hip when it gets to the hip line. And then the width, I use 7 inches from the beginning. So I came down by 12, came in on my folded fabric by 7, and then I just curved it out with my curve rule. Very simple. That's the basic pocket measurement. So after cutting it out, I'll go ahead and cut out the second one for the other side of the pocket. And then I told you earlier, this is a little bit different because we'll be joining the cargo fabric to this material. If my cargo fabric was enough, there will be no need to do all of this joining. You just go ahead and cut it directly on the cargo fabric. But I'll be joining this because at the front of the pant trouser, you do not want to be seeing this white fabric. So I'll just come in by 5 inches on the upper part and then curve it down to meet the end of the pocket. This is the one I'll be using this is the one I'll be attaching to the back pants. Then for the front pants, you don't need it to be too wide because it doesn't show. So for the front pocket, you just cut out a slimmer one. Come in by 3 inches because you will sew with 1 inch. Then trim it down, curve it down to the end of the pocket. This is for the back. This is the one that will be used for the back. I came in by 5 inches and went down. I did not get to the end of the pocket. So now go ahead and cut the one I'll be using for the front. So when you finish cutting this, the only thing you do is go to the sewing machine and fold it on top of this white fabric. So I'm cutting out 2 pieces that I will need for the 2 back pants, and then I also go ahead and cut out 2 pieces that I will use for the 2 front pants. So this is the one I'll be using for the back. So I'll keep it aside and then go ahead and cut the front one I told you earlier. It's not as wide as this back. So I'll first of all introduce the pant trouser itself and show you guys how it looks. So this is the front and back of our cargo pants, and then I'll bring the back that I've cut, see how it fits perfectly on the back. I'll keep that aside and then introduce the one I'll be using for the front. I have to trim it first. Remember the slanting we did on this side after taking our waist measurements? I'll have to trim it off on this white pocket fabric as well so that it will fit. So I would slant it off and cut it away before I would bring what I'll be adding on top, that cargo fabric I told you earlier, the type that we added to the back. So this is it. I'll just place it on top like this, come in by 3 inches on the upper part. I would need 2 inches, but I'm using 3 because I would use 1 inch to sew. So take it all the way down to the curve, almost at the end of the curve, and then just cut it off like this. Very simple, very straightforward as well. So now the next thing we'll do is to go to the sewing machine and fold it in, match it on top. That is after cutting. I'm cutting the second piece, and then we'll now proceed to attach these pockets. So like I said earlier, when we're attaching it, you make a stitch on the upper part, you fold in this side and make a stitch on top of it so that it will become one. You repeat the same thing on the 4 of them, both back and front. Fold in the side that is showing and then make a stitch on top. Now that we are done attaching it to each other, this is how it looks. And then the next thing we'll do now is to introduce the pant trousers and then attach the pocket to it. It is the same method that we use to attach our pockets on our pants. There's no difference. The only difference is this cutting that we did already, the cut and joining. And like I said, that if you have your fabric enough, you don't need to do this joining that I did. So now we'll introduce the fabric, the good sides facing each other. Make sure you chalk out the good side of your fabric so that you don't sew it inside out. So you join the good sides facing each other of the pocket and the pants. Make a top stitch on it. Remember, the joining is just 7 inches from the waist downwards. You're not joining everything. So after that, you make a top stitch as well. Repeat the same thing on both the back and the front of the pants. Now, after attaching the pocket to the front and the back, the next thing we'll do now is to introduce the front and back pattern of the trouser together and then place it together, right sides facing each other, and pin it on top like you see me doing. And then take your measurement down to that 7 inches that we took. The front is showing like this because of the curve we made. The front and back, they are not the same. So we did our slant curving earlier on the front to give it that shape in the front pocket. So now where you start joining from is the end of that 7 inches that you joined earlier, and then you take it straight down to the end of your trouser. While you're doing this, make sure both trousers are equal. If it is not equal, it means what you cut is not correct or what you are sewing is not correct. Make sure to pin it down and sew. After sewing, this is what you would have. You flip it over to the other side and make a top stitch. This is cargo. It requires a lot of top stitch. So after making a top stitch, before making a top stitch, you join your pockets together as you see me doing. Just take it right sides facing each other and join to the very end, and then you have your pocket. After joining together, this is what it will look like, and then you fold it to the front. It goes to the front of the pants, and then you join it at the top part. Join it on the waist. This is me joining the pocket to the front pieces of the trouser, and then the pocket is ready. Very simple. See how it looks? This is why we did that joining, because you do not want the front, the white inside, to be showing in the front. So that's why we joined this fabric to that white fabric. But like I said, like if your fabric is enough, just go ahead and cut out 12 inches long and 7 inches wide for your regular pockets. So this is me making another top stitch because, like I said earlier, cargo pants requires a lot of top stitch. And this is the side pocket ready. We'll just repeat the same thing we did now on the other leg, the front and back second leg, and then we are done with the side pockets. The next thing we'll do after the side pocket is to sew the cargo pockets itself on the side. Thank you for watching to this point. If you haven't subscribed, remember to do that already. The next thing we'll do now is introduce the cargo pockets we cut earlier and join the pieces. Turn out this pocket itself. So this particular piece I'm holding is the main pocket. Now we have two because we will be turning it. Now this other one here is the one that will attach to each side of this pocket to give us that lift on the side, while this other one is the cover of the pocket. The longer side will be on the top, while the shorter side will be the side that will be folded down. Now we'll go ahead and make a stitch on the sides and the shorter side, which is the down part. The longer side that I said is the upper part. We will not stitch it just yet. So if you just watch this video and follow as I'm doing it for you to understand it very well. So I went ahead and made a stitch on the sides and the down part, and then you remember to always notch before folding, turning it over. Now after flipping it over, we will make a top stitch. So we will top stitch this part that we just sewn. You can do single top stitch or double, but I did double because this is cargo pocket. There's nothing wrong if you run a double stitch on a cargo pocket. Now this is what we have after making that top stitch and turning it, after turning it over and making our top stitch. So like I said earlier, the longer part will not be folded or turned because it will be the part that will be sewn on the trouser itself. So after doing that, the next thing I'll do now is to make a stitch on this pocket itself, which I just did. Make a stitch on the top part, notch it. After notching it, before you turn the sides, introduce this piece that we cut that will serve as our side. So you put it in between, as you see me doing in the video. Put it in between, wrong side facing one side and the right side facing the right side of the pocket itself. So then you run a stitch. You repeat this on both sides of the pocket. After doing this side, go ahead and notch and then do the other side. Take the second piece, place it like what you did before and run a stitch down. Now after doing that, you can now turn it over to see the other side of the pocket and then make your top stitch. Now after opening it out, turning it to the right side of the fabric, this is what we have. We will now go ahead and make a top stitch. You will top stitch the upper parts, as you can see on the video. Top stitch the upper parts. You can do double top stitch as well. Then turn to the sides, bend this side flip over to the inside before you make your top stitch on top. Do the same thing on the other side when you're done with this one side. Now this is what we have after making all the stitch and the top stitch. So this side that I mentioned earlier is the part that we have this raise on the sides of the pants, and this upper part will be covered with the cover of the pocket. You can just go ahead and make top stitches on top of it, as many as you want. Top stitch just has a way of beautifying your cargo pants and pockets. Now after doing all of that, I will retake my measurement. I told you earlier that after folding I'll have 8 inches. That's why I cut 9, because I want to use 0.5 to fold on both sides. So now measuring it, you can see I have 8 inches. The next thing I want to do is divide this 8 inches into 3 and then make a little pleat on that to give us this baggy effect in the middle. So after doing that, I'll pin the first one, pin the second one, and then this under part that I have not stitched or turned is the part that will be placed on the pant itself. That's the down part that will be placed on the pant. And this baggy effect in the middle will be obvious after you iron it out. Now this is the cover of the pocket that we made earlier. The next thing we'll do now, after doing all of this stitching, you repeat the same thing on the second one. You know we have 2 pockets, one on the left, one on the right, and then we'll introduce the pant trouser itself. This is what we have on the second pocket. I have gone ahead to fold everything, repeat the same thing that I did with the first pocket, and then we'll now introduce the trouser that will be fixing this. Now this is the cargo pants we've made. This is one leg. We've gone ahead to do this upper side pocket. I told you earlier that the video of that side pocket will be posted separately. Now on this side line where the back and the front was joined, which is the side, you introduce your pocket and your tape. Remember we have 8 inches wide on our pocket, so you go to the left side with 4 inches and go to the right side with 4 inches, because the pocket will be on both the back and the front of this cargo pants on the side. Yeah, so now to get where it will start from the beginning, this depends on the length, on your knee length. My knee length is 22 inches and I want the pocket to stop shortly on top of before my knee. So I measured 13.5 inches from my waist down, and then 13.5 inches, if the pocket starts from there, it means 13.5 inches plus 8 inches, that is the pocket, will now give me 21.5 inches, which is still on top of my knee length. Do you understand? Now, after taking that 13.5 inches where the cover will be placed, because that 13.5 inches is the beginning of the pocket, so you place the cover first, as you see in the video, pin it down, that's where the cover will be, and then you come down with 0.5 under this cover, then place the pocket itself. So I just marked 0.5 because that will be the small distance between the cover of the pocket and the pocket itself, so that when you open it up, you can freely put your hand inside. Then I went out by 4 inches on both sides, like I said earlier, and then I use my straight ruler to mark it out so that when I'm sewing, I'll sew on a straight line. Now the pocket has been introduced. The first thing we will do, the end of the pocket, that's where the 8 inches stopped downwards, we will place this pocket good size facing each other, which means the bad side of the pocket will face up. Place it down there and make a stitch before you flip it upwards towards the cover of the pocket. So as you see me doing in the video, fold the sides of the pocket, make a straight stitch, flip it over, then you make a stitch on the left and the right sides. After doing that, just watch the video if you do not understand. Now, after making a stitch on the down part and flipping it upwards, the next thing we are going to do now is to make a stitch on this side, the left side and the right side. So you see me folding that side placket we made on the pocket, that is the one that we will match. Make your stitch on top of it and very close to the edge, and make your stitch very straight and neat, because all the stitches you're making in this cargo pants, they are on the outside, so you have to perfect your straight stitch to make this pants trouser. Now after making this is what we have. This cover gives it a little lift on the sides. So after making that stitch on the sides, you would make a stitch, run a stitch on that upper part just to press it down, as you see me doing in the video. We'll repeat the same thing on the other side as well. Now after repeating the same thing on the second side, cut off your threads. This is what you have. As you can see, you can now freely raise it up, put your hand inside your pocket. The sides gives it the lift, the upper part is neatly sewn, the inside is neatly sewn as well. You can go ahead and run a top stitch. Remember I said earlier, remember to top stitch to flatten and lay down the whole thing the way you want it. So after top stitching, we will come to the upper part and stitch the cover. Remember the cover, it is pin that is holding it down, so we'll now make a stitch on the cover of this pocket. Before you start running the stitch on the cover of the pocket, remember to lift up this side pocket that is on top so that you don't sew it mistakenly, make a stitch on top of it. So after raising it up, make a straight stitch on the cover of your pocket, then flip it downwards like you're covering the pocket after that first stitch. After flipping it down, make a top stitch on top. This top stitch will not just make it flat, it will also cover the rough on the inside, so when you open it up, you will no longer see the first stitch you made. That's the secret. This cargo pocket is very, very simple. Just follow the steps and straighten your hand. Make your stitches very neat. As you can see, after opening the pocket, the inside is very neat, and that is the work of the second stitch that you just made. Now you just place a button or a hook, anything that would hold the pocket down for you, and you are good to go. Very, very simple, guys. Remember to subscribe if you haven't done that already. This is the second leg of the trouser. We'll just go ahead and repeat the same thing that we did for this first one, and then you're done with your cargo baggy pocket. Now we've gone ahead to repeat the same thing we did for the first one on the second one, and this is what we have. The two side pockets are ready, so just go ahead and continue the sewing of the cargo pants. Now that the both side pockets are done, the next thing we'll do now is to join the two legs together. I'll first start by pinning down this front part where I'll be attaching my zip. I'm not making any stitch there yet. I'll join the back sides together and then I'll sew. After sewing this place, I'll open it up because the back has been joined and the front is being held with pin so that I can open it up. So after joining, we are not attaching zip yet. We'll first of all open it up and join the crotch down to the leg, the full length of the pants. Do your arrangements and make sure they are equal. But before you join that center crotch part, you first of all fold the down of your pants with the allowance you added when you were cutting. I added 2 inches allowance, and that's what I used to join, and this is what we have. Make sure it is very neat. If you want to top stitch, you can top stitch. I repeated the same thing on the both legs, and this is what I have. The next thing now is to sew it straight down to the crotch part. Make sure they are equal on the edge, the down part, and make sure the crotch is also equal. The back and the front joining you made on the crotch, make sure it is equal. So this is me sewing it down on the left leg and the right leg. After doing that, the next thing we'll do is to fix our zip and then add our waistband. So the zip I'll be fixing on this cargo pant is the fly zipper, not the regular zipper. So this is an opportunity for you to learn how to attach a fly zipper to your pant. So this is how our cargo is coming out already, with the side pockets and the front pockets attached, and it's looking so beautiful. Remember to iron when you're sewing. Always iron, it gives you a neat finishing. So now let's fix the fly front zipper. So I've gone ahead to cut out the measurement I have from my waist to my crotch. I cut out 7 to 8 inches long pieces, and the width is 2 inches wide. So I'll go ahead and place the two good sides facing each other and make a stitch. Just watch this video closely so that you understand. This fly zipper is very, very simple if you pay attention to it. So I make a stitch straight down, and then the straight part of these pieces I cut is what I am attaching, not the curved part. If you notice, it's cut as curved, not straight. So I attach the straight side to the first one, and then I introduced my zip. As you can see, the zip is facing down. The good side of the zip is facing my pants. This is the bad side facing upwards. And then I'm going to make a stitch on my right side, the side that is close to the machine. That's the side I made a stitch on, and then I opened it up, as you can see in the video. Now after opening it up, you introduce the other side of the pant, this other side. Then good sides facing each other, you place it on top. As you can see in the video, place it on top, and then introduce the second piece. Remember that piece we attached before? There are 2. So this is the second piece. I'll place it under the zip, as you see me doing. The straight side as well is where you place close to the machine. Then the straight side under the zip. Now you would make a stitch on top of the other side of the zip, not the side that you have stitched before. So very simple. Watch closely so that you understand. Make another stitch on the second side of the zipper that you've not stitched before, straight down to where you stopped with the first one. Now after doing that, when you open it to the right side of the pants, this is what you will have. Look at how neat it's coming out already. Now you fold it inwards, because remember it's a fly zipper. It's opened on the crotch part because I haven't joined that part yet. So I fold it in like this, and I'll secure it down with a pin. But before securing, make sure to remove any ruff at the back. Make sure to take it to the right side where the zip can open freely. Then you secure it down with a pin, as you see me doing. After securing it down with a pin, we are going to make a stitch from the down part down to the up part. You can just use your hand, your chalk, and curve it the way it's curved, the way you see a fly zipper curved, right? So just curve it upwards and then make a stitch. But before making that stitch, cut off the excess of your zip if your zipper is too long and join your crotch. Remember, we have not joined this front crotch. I needed to fix the zip before joining the crotch. Now we'll join the crotch straight down to where the zipper ended. After joining that crotch, remember to notch, because if you don't notch, it will give you some squeeze effect when you wear the pants. So after joining, make sure you make a notch on that part where the zip started. So after joining that crotch, fold it to the right side. This is what we have. See how neat it's coming out, and very simple and straightforward. Fly zipper is not difficult. So just follow this step, watch this video closely so that you understand, you have a better understanding. Now remember this part that we secured with a pin earlier, we're going to make a curve straight down. You can just take a chalk and chalk it down to give you a fine curve. And while you're making this stitch, remember to remove whatever is under the zip so that you don't mistakenly join it with it. If you don't remove it, you find it difficult to zip it down and up. Now after making that curved stitch, this is what we have. Remember to trim off your threads, remember to iron, and then remember to take off the fabric behind so that you'll be able to zip up and down. Like I said earlier, this is our fly zipper. Very, very simple. See how it didn't take us long to finish it. So the next thing we're going to do now is to join the crotch, the remaining part of the crotch. Remember, we haven't joined the crotch perfectly because we wanted to fix our zipper first. So now we'll go ahead and join this crotch, and then the next remaining thing is to add our waistband, and that will be that for the cargo pants. I hope you understand up to this point. If you haven't subscribed, remember to do that, and thank you for watching to this point. Now this is what we have. Remember to trim off your thread, remember to trim off the excess, remember to iron. See how neat and equal these stitches are. It's very important to do a neat job when you're sewing, making your clothes. Now this is our fly zipper done. This is our pockets, the side pockets and the cargo pockets. The next thing we do now is to attach our waistband. So the first thing we do is to join the side of this waistband, because it will be showing in the front where we'll attach the button on the band. So I went ahead and turned out the front part before I'll start attaching it. I would have turned the other side as well. I just don't know how long because I did not take the exact way. So I'll turn it when I'm done, when I've gotten to the end of the waist. So just start your joining from there. But I will not join straight down. I would stop at some points at the side, the hip line, and add a rubber band. I'll add a band so that it will make it stretchy on that waist part, because this is a free baggy trouser. I do not want the waist part to be very tight and fitted. It can enter a bigger size at the same time because of that elastic on the waist. Now after joining it down to the hip line, I would pause and then cut out my elastic band, attach it to this point as you see me doing. I'll attach it, I'll make a stitch down. Make sure your stitch is very tight so that the rubber does not cut when you're done. So I'll attach it here and then continue my waistband joining. This elastic will be added on both sides of my waist, on the two hip lines of my waist. So I'll do it here. I'll repeat the same thing on the other side as well, and then it will give us this elasticity in the waist. So after doing that, remember to cut off the excess on the waistband and fold that edge as well. If you want your waistband to be long in front to extend to the other side, you can do that, is your choice. If you want it to end where the pant ended, also your choice. Just cut it off, turn it the way we turned the beginning, and then stitch, and then we're done. See how beautiful it's coming out already. Remember to iron your job, make it very, very neat. Now this is the waistband. This is the side I said will have the elastic on the both hip lines. It is very, very simple. The only thing remaining now is to put our button on this waistband. But first, remember to top stitch this waistband that you just made. You make a top stitch before you place your button. And then after top stitching, guys, we have come to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching to this point. I hope you learned something. Remember to like, remember to share, remember to subscribe. Guys, trust me when I say this cargo pant is very, very fine. I'll look forward to you making your own, and then let us know in the comment section how it came out. Look at how beautiful it looks. I couldn't get a very good video when I finished because I traveled the next day. This is the short video I just made, and this is me wearing it to travel. I hope you liked this video. Thank you so much for watching to this point. I'll see you in my next video, guys. Bye.